So it's a big win in Europe for Aston Villa, beating Fenerbahce 1-0 out here in Istanbul, and I'm going to start with it straight away. You know I love it. Top 2 for Aston Villa heading into the final match week against RB Salzburg. Should we stop for a kebab? I can't. Work to do, and it's late here, 3 hours ahead. It's half midnight as I record. Anyway, top 2 for Villa, Salzburg, next up, and if Villa win that game, home second legs in the quarters, round of 16, and the semi-final. Of course, Villa need to get through to those latter rounds, but they are in the round of 16, so that's the first accomplishment ticked off for Villa. So that in itself is an achievement tonight. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I did celebrate when Bran penalty in the 10th minute of added time there, because I just think it's such a big opportunity for Villa to get those home matches. Anyway, but tonight they have shown a demonstration of their character, I think. And I don't think that's the strongest Fenerbahce team that they could have fielded, Domenico Tedesco. But Villa have been to different places in Europe and far weaker sides that they've faced and lost to, even this season. Fenerbahce, we know, are a huge club in Europe, let alone Turkey, and the noise that they created today was comparable to when Villa went to Legia. And full credit to them. I think such a passionate fan base, and one which can galvanise a side even so late in games and after conceding goal as well. It was, of course, Jadon Sancho's first for the club that was the difference for Villa today. There was a relatively late goal that Artoglu, I think his name is, thought he scored. That came after Villa thought they had doubled their lead. Sancho putting the ball across the box and bundled over the line in the end. But both were well offside, so I'm not too sure what the Lions men were doing tonight. Not good performances from them. Just going to cross over here. And Villa leave here with a really important win, because, as I say, it's much more than just 3 points. This could be one of the check marks in Villa's journey in the Europa League this season, whereby if they do go far and, dare I say it, return here in May and lift silverware, this will be one of the games that I'll look back on and think, well, that really did give them that kind of push forward, especially if those home games in the second legs are going to be kind of crucial for them. They still need to go and beat Salzburg and get into those, or get to that position, but they're giving themselves a great opportunity, and that's really important. And to do it at a place like this, which is a cauldron of noise. And Duran, Asensio, 2 players who started with Villa last season. Duran was superb for the first half of the campaign. Asensio for probably the first half of the second half of the season, if that makes sense, last term. But we know their quality. But I thought Tyrone Mings and Victor Lindelof were both immense today. Taking the bins out, I think. Mike Cash as well, obviously getting an assist for Sancho's goal. But yeah, defensive masterclass really from Villa. Marco Bizot coming in for Martinez, as we know. Obviously, we reported yesterday that Martinez wouldn't be in the squad, and Bizot starts. Bit of an injury concern at the end, but Unai Emery saying that he thinks that him and Tyrone Mings will both be okay. I didn't know about Mings, but Emery suggesting that there could have been a bit of fatigue for him. Of course, his first start since October, since Villa's defeat at Go Ahead Eagles, and that seems like a very long time ago now, doesn't it? But they've made up for that one by winning here, and you just hope next week they can finish the job off in the league phase, essentially, and get over the line. Lots of traffic. In terms of kind of player-by-player, I guess, as I mentioned, Bizot very strong today. The defence keeping John Duran quiet, which is, as we know, a difficult task at the best of times, let alone when he's like today playing against a former club. Tyrone Mings, I thought, dealt with him exceptionally well, and sort of outmuscled him, didn't he, in different occasions. Lindelof also playing his part. So really strong from that point of view. There was a moment in added time where Youri Tielemans comes off the pitch for George Hemmings and puts his arm out or his hand out to Unai Emery for a handshake, and Emery essentially turns him away and pushes him and shouts at him. I asked Unai after the game what that was about, and he just said he is like my son, which I liked. And I'm told that there's no issue there, and they've I say made up, if that's the right kind of wording there. I don't think it is. We know there's no issue anyway. Although I asked Unai and he didn't say. Whatever it was, I'm sure it would have been a slight detail or something which many other managers probably wouldn't lose too much sleep over. But Unai we know what he's like. He is meticulous. The reason why Villa are third in the Premier League and second now in the Europa League is because of the level of manager they have. He's made this group of players immeasurably better. I do think that Villa could have scored more goals today. Fenerbahce, as I mentioned earlier, I don't think it certainly wasn't their strongest side that they could put out because of different reasons. For example, Guendouzi just joining and not being able to play in Europe because he's not in the squad. But Villa had lots of space in transition, cutting through Fenerbahce a few times, but just that final bit wasn't quite right. Maybe too much room and too much space, maybe, to think about. So for that reason, I didn't really give too many high scores to those attackers, apart from Sancho, because ultimately he was the difference. But it was a good game, I think, for him to play in. Confidence, he saw a lot of the ball. He's obviously had a match-deciding moment. Watkins, I think, runs himself into the ground and is putting lots of work, as he always does his task well. But then, again, there's kind of the key elements to being a top forward, what separates them. And it's what we've seen from Watkins, of course, in the last few years. But today, just lacking that final bit. And we're doing also. Morgan Rogers were the support act today from the start. In the midfield, as I mentioned, Tielemans, Bogard as well, showing versatility as he often does, pulling into that sort of right-sided defensive position. Late on, Ian Matson pushed up into the left wing as Villa shuffled the pack a little bit. Emery shuffled the pack. Get over the line, and it sounds a bit odd to say get over the line because of the chances that they've had and I wouldn't say dominance of the ball necessarily, but certainly in terms of workable situations in the final third. Villa have had lots and should have done more. But I'm more sort of proud and pleased to see that the defence coming out on top on most occasions against that Fenerbahce side. And again, you're playing them away from home, it's going to be very difficult. Villa have obviously got a gruelling week going to Newcastle on Sunday. Weeks don't really get much harder than this in Villa's calendar, at least until this point. Fenerbahce and Newcastle away with John McGinn missing, with Boubacar Kamara missing. Ross Barkley's obviously injured as well. And Unai came back today and did well off the bench, which is a big boost for Sunday. Hopefully this win hasn't taken that too much for or on the Villa players' legs ahead of the weekend's match at Newcastle, but you would say that nothing could his confidence and energy and morale like a win, especially here. You can imagine that dressing room. I think they would have been looking around and thinking like we haven't quite ground it out. We weren't under the cosh for the whole match, but to win 1-0 away against Fenerbahce, solid, very, very strong result, and the perfect scenario on the night as well. Really, no absolute injuries. Mentioned Bizot and Mings earlier, but to leave with a clean sheet, a win, Sancho scoring his first goal for the club, and you've jumped into the top two. Can't really ask for much more, can you? So, super night for Villa in Europe. Probably one of my, I don't know, mate. It's probably up there. To be fair, one of my favourite results in Europe. And the atmosphere was brilliant. Enjoyed my trip. Enjoyed my taxi journeys and all sorts. So, yeah, enjoyable one. Hopefully we're back here in a few months' time. Just another comment that Unai mentioned in his press conference about, firstly wanting to win trophies with Villa. Not the first time I said that, but also don't recall him saying that Villa are contenders to win this trophy. Maybe I'm wrong, not too sure, but he said that we are one of the contenders. He said that Fenerbahce are also a contender, but Villa have beaten them away from home tonight. When Fenerbahce, if they're going to finish in the top 8, had to win today, I think, and for that reason, makes it even stronger. Makes the result even stronger, I think. And then one more thing that Emery mentioned, which sort of caught my attention, was him mentioning about how we're having a week left. Next week there'll be a week left of the window, and that his players can focus on football after that. So possibly a sort of suggestion there that in the window different circumstances are not really helping. Those aren't exactly Emery's words, but nearly. So yeah, an interesting one. I know that, well, we know that last January, of course, results dipped. The summer results were poor as well. Performance is not great either. So if you're looking to get out of this week with another result against Newcastle, and then you've got 2 home games, Salzburg and Brentford, then I think that would be a really strong way to go into that week. As I say, with transfers, that's going to sort of dominate people's thinking. So yeah, let's hope Villa can continue some momentum that they've built tonight. Newcastle away is about as tough as it gets if you're an Aston Villa player in the last, how many years, decades. So let's see where they go from here. But to cap off a really strong night, really positive night, I don't think we could ask for too much more than what we got in terms of simply result. Performance, I thought, was actually, it probably was one of Villa's better away performances in Euro under Emery. They just didn't quite have that final product where they really needed it. I think that performance was probably warranting a better scoreline in Villa's favour. But it's another thing doing it, and definitely a confidence boost, I say, going into the knockouts later on, that they've come into Fenerbahce and won. You don't get much harder than that, really, in this competition. You've got Roma, you've got Lyon, but they've won here. And of course, there's 2 legs in the knockouts, obviously. And as I go back to at the start, if you can play your home games as the second leg, well, you've got Villa Park to contend with if you're an opposition team, and that probably is the hardest place to play as an away side in this competition. So for that reason, very enjoyable night, enjoyable trip as well, heading back to Birmingham from Istanbul tomorrow, and then we're back up to Newcastle. As I say, next week, another opportunity, I think, for Villa to sort of get going again. We'll see what happens at Newcastle, but in the previous video, 5 out of the next 6 home games after Newcastle. After Newcastle, 5 of the 6 games are at home. So an opportunity for Villa to continue to build momentum. If they're going to win at Fenerbahce, who knows? Maybe they can go to St James's and nick something. Just finally, what I would also add, a good point made by someone who I can't give credit to because I've forgotten, but they did talk about how, well, if Villa are going to Fenerbahce and face that noise and that atmosphere, Newcastle probably won't be as sort of vociferous and intimidating. St James's obviously gets going, as does a Villa Park and whatnot, but Fenerbahce is a constant noise. It's you zone out. It's I'm not a football player, but I can imagine it's quite easy to lose concentration sometimes because of that constant noise buzzing in your ear. Anyway, 1-0 for Villa in Istanbul. Brilliant result. Hopefully they'll be back here. You never know. Fenerbahce could play Villa in a 2-legged knockout, but if not, Besiktas Stadium in May. That's where the final is, and that has to be the aim for Villa. And I'm not going to be sort of flippant about it. Villa need to win the Europa League. Now is the time to win your trophy, Villa. They've had their experiences under Emery. Quarter-final of the Champions League last season. They are the favourites to win this competition. You need to embrace that for me. Be humble about it, of course, but I'm glad that Unai said that we're contenders for this, because you have to face it. Emery is one of the best managers in European football. He's won the competition 4 times. This will be a 5th time today. He manages his 100th game in this competition. You don't get any better in terms of managers. Villa, although they've got some injuries, have a very deep squad compared to their rivals for this competition as well. So yeah, excited about it, but also I think it's one of those where now is the time to get over the line, and yeah, today I think is another step towards becoming that team. So yeah, delighted about it. Catch you on a fan zone, I think, or on Claret and Blue. That's the next time you'll see my face, I think, on Friday night or Saturday morning potentially. But of course, reaction from this game on Birmingham Mail, and as we look forward to travelling up to Tyneside as well.